Imagine a piece of land smaller than many countries' largest cities. Now imagine that this small region has been fought over for thousands of years, shaped the history of three major religions, and remains one of the most debated places on Earth. So why do both Israelis and Palestinians claim the same land? To answer that question, we have to travel back thousands of years, long before the modern conflict began. The story begins in a region historically known as the Land of Israel, or Palestine, located at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe. Because of its location, powerful empires wanted to control it for trade, military strategy, and political influence. But for millions of people, this land also held something even more valuable. It was their home. More than 3,000 years ago, ancient Israelite kingdoms existed in this region. Jerusalem became an important political and religious center for the Jewish people. Over the centuries, however, the land was conquered by powerful empires, including the Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and finally the Romans. In the first century, after a series of Jewish revolts against Roman rule, many Jews were killed, displaced, or scattered across different parts of the Roman Empire. This period marked the beginning of what became known as the Jewish diaspora. Even though Jewish communities continued to live in the land, many others settled across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, while maintaining religious and cultural connections to their ancestral homeland. Meanwhile, the region itself continued to change. Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, making Jerusalem one of its holiest cities. Centuries later, in the 7th century, Muslim Arab armies took control of the region. Islam became another major faith connected to the land, and Jerusalem also became one of Islam's holiest cities. Over time, Arabic language and culture became deeply rooted throughout much of the population. For hundreds of years, different empires ruled the region. One of the longest lasting was the Ottoman Empire, which controlled it from the early 16th century until the end of the First World War. During this period, Muslims, Christians, and Jews all lived in the area, although the population changed over time. Everything began to change in the late 19th century. Across Europe, many Jews faced discrimination and violent persecution. At the same time, a political movement known as Zionism emerged. Its goal was to establish a national homeland for the Jewish people in their ancestral land. As a result, increasing numbers of Jewish immigrants began moving to the region, where an existing Arab population had already lived for generations. After the First World War, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and Britain took control of the territory under the British Mandate for Palestine. In 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, expressing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people, while also stating that the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities should not be harmed. Balancing those goals proved extremely difficult. As Jewish immigration increased during the following decades, especially as many Jews fled persecution in Europe, tensions between Jewish and Arab communities grew. Both groups believed they had legitimate historical, cultural, and national connections to the same land. Violence became more frequent, and Britain struggled to maintain order. By the end of the Second World War, the situation had reached a breaking point. The United Nations proposed dividing the territory into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem placed under international administration. One side accepted the proposal, while the other rejected it, arguing that it was unfair. The decision would change the history of the Middle East forever. The United Nations believed that dividing the land into two separate states offered the best chance to end the growing conflict. In November 1947, it approved a partition plan that proposed creating one Jewish state and one Arab state, while placing Jerusalem under international administration because of its importance to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, even though it did not give them all the territory they had hoped for. Many Arab leaders rejected it, arguing that it unfairly divided a land where the Arab population made up the majority at the time, and that the local Arab population had not agreed to the proposal. Violence between Jewish and Arab communities increased almost immediately.